on Reddit.
Instead of buying your children all the things you never had, you should teach them all the things you were never taught. Material wears out, knowledge stays. Bruce Lee. Elliot 13060. It's so sad about E and his son dying young. Tragic. Memetic Machine 13060. The Joestar family curse. I bet his grandson goes on to take out the ultimate being though. Timothy Cow 2313060. And something about an angry teenager fighting some vampire. Kev the Mem Man 2713060. Then the son of the one fighting the ultimate being ends up discovering a serial killer in his town. Zionienger 13060. Who is Joe? Too emotional for you 13060. I didn't realize he died so young 32 : Tuxmux 08013060. The best ones always do. Eats Meats 13060. I guess I can look forward to a long life then. Berelentless 112613060. Sucks to be me. PLZNTHKS 13060. Except Mr. Rogers. Vegas HB 13060. Do you think it had anything to do with the Cliff Booth smackdown? Sleazemeasy 13060. Is that his son that died on set at the filming of The Crow? Alaskan Lost 13060. Yes, it is Brandon. Austinila 13060. Didn't know Brandon was blonde growing up. I thought Happas can never be blonde? Dark He 13060. I'm half Filipino, half Caucasian, and when I grew up I was blonde and looked mostly white. Also named Brandon Face with tears of joy. Lost Myth 13060. Bruce Lee was a quarter European, so maybe Bruce had a recessive gene for that hair color? Source for European descent listed here. https://www.angstananews.com. Arts Bruce Lee biography. Dives life and death. Martial arts legend article. /2,149,330. Fight me. Mr. Tusk 13060. Happas? Half Asian? It's the vibe off thing 13060. What happened? Hair long Moni long 13060. I think about this all the time. I love my parents, but I have a little list of things they never really taught me. Maybe they just didn't see them as important. Maybe they just didn't realize they never spelled it out for me. But I want to make sure my children understand them before growing up. Pika Megafleur 13060. For me, my parents gave me the tools, sort of. They are great parents and all, but too careful. They sat there and tried to keep me unaware of so much. It bit me in the ass later when I discovered the rest of the world. I focused less on my studies and such, grew restless and impatient with the structure. Everything I learned I had learned without them for the most part. If it had to do with finances, it was always whatever you do, don't get a credit card. If it had to do with my savings getting blown by some misfortune every time I hit a milestone, it's what you save for. If it has to do with my considerations for the future, it's always, well, why didn't you stay in school? Glad I don't seek their acceptance anymore, or really anyone's for that matter. I just hope that if I ever do have a kid, I can be much more capable of guidance and instructing them on preparing themselves. I've had to learn everything on my own, and grew up very emotionally distant from my entire family. Drew Offenders 13060. My dad taught me how to work hard. It's the best thing he ever taught me. Boy David Bodimp Boat 13060. My dad taught me how to vanish. Orn 5,005,13060. Knowledge stays, unless you EHH. Forget man with light skin tone shrugging. Sxrakild 13060. Thought this said chicken rather than children. I was wondering why I'd want to buy my chicken all the things I never had. Eedladedle 13060. Why wouldn't you? Darren Tilk 13060. You are what you eat, bro. Just something you should consider when you say there's no point in buying your Costco rotisserie bird a Tesla. Paulo Montero's 13060. I heard Tarantino made him look like a dick in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a shame the image a lot of people will get now is that of an arrogant asshole instead of the real person Bruce Lee might have been. Kevbot 86,13060. My hands are known as lethal weapons. If I accidentally kill someone with my hands I'll go to jail. Bruce Lee. Cliff Booth's response. Brad Pitt. Anyone that accidentally kills anyone with their hands is going to jail. It's called manslaughter. Stupid Latent Nothing 13060. Yeah, that dialogue makes him out to be a dumbass emo. Some people say it makes him look like a cocky dick, which it does, but I don't buy that. Bruce Lee was entirely humble in real life either. I don't think he was the type to start fights with people though, but he definitely wasn't the type to back down from one either. Wuntharacisradi 13060. He had to leave Hong Kong because he kept getting into fights. Sanji Sasuk 13060. Bruce was definitely not the textbook humble monk-like fighter. He is quoted as, if I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm not good, you'll know I'm lying. I'm pretty happy he wasn't, honestly. Goes against up the old mild, quiet Asian stereotype. I really like the Bears 136D. There were redeeming scenes with him in the film for sure, like when he teaches Sharon Tate moves for a movie. But even then I doubt that one unapologetically historically inaccurate movie will have a more profound effect on a generation's perception compared to Bruce Lee's lasting legacy as a whole. Maybe Stratamus 136D yet. I think most people aren't forming their opinion of Bruce Lee based off of this movie. But it's kind of annoying that this is maybe becoming a pattern of how he's being portrayed in Hollywood movies. Wasn't there some cheesy movie a little while back where everyone thought it was a Bruce Lee biopic and then it turned out the protagonist was some white dude and Bruce Lee was this arrogant antagonist? I don't think any of it really hurts his legacy, but it's kind of annoying. I really like the Bears 136D. I'm not sure it's news to me. I just think that Bruce's legacy of hard work and determination is something that will always live on and have much wider impacts than the films we're mentioning right now. I mean, I'm 23 and already kind of missed the window of Bruce Lee's target generation, but between classic kung fu flicks and general word of mouth I have a strong idea of the kind of guy he was, and I think it'll take a lot more than a few popular movies to change that status as easily as it's being implied. Brajo 136D. But even then I doubt that one unapologetically historically inaccurate movie will have a more profound effect on a generation's perception compared to Bruce Lee's lasting legacy as a whole. Wanna bet? I really like the Bears 136D. LOL. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a degenerative gambler, but also this is all subjective. There's no way we can quantify it at all. All I'm saying is that it's a little insulting to Bruce to think that a film that's probably not in most people's top 5 for Tarantino productions alone is going to completely dictate what a generation believes about a man that is one of the greatest, and probably the most well-known martial artist of all time. I mean, even the guy that initially commented seems to not even have seen the movie, given that he said he only heard about it. Don't get me wrong, I love Tarantino and I love the movie itself, but I think you might be overrating its overall influence by just a tad. Blargenschmer 136D. I watched the film and they really didn't. Bruce gets understandably upset when a punk gives him a hard time while Bruce is trying to teach stunt actors on technique. I think it was goofy, but he didn't really look like an ass. The whole movie was like a satire on real life. Umatron 136D. I don't know. He did make him look like a dick, but if you read anything about BL by Piop who knew him, he was on a level of cocky confidence where asshole was thrown about. If anything, he looked more human. His pedestal wasn't there when it normally was, which probably made people think it was a bad reflection. Mole 09136D. The thing is, Tarantino quoted Bruce saying he could beat Muhammad Ali when Bruce never ever said that. He used to watch Ali's fights religiously to try and learn from him, and admired him greatly. What Tarantino got was an out-of-context quote from his wife's book where other people would always talk about him beating Muhammad Ali. Bruce never said that himself. Also, the movie had Bruce throwing ridiculous flying kicks and making his movie noises. Bruce has said in real life that stuff like jump kicks look great on camera but aren't practical for a real fight, and he was practically silent during actual combat. In the little bit of footage that exists of him doing any actual fighting, he mostly sticks to basic boxing, kickboxing strikes and some light grappling. He also moves very slowly and deliberately and doesn't do anything overly risky or flashy. Bruce did have an ego, but he wasn't the clown Tarantino portrayed him as in the film. Also, people say that it's satire, but none of the other characters were to make look as dumb as Bruce was, and even if they were, how many Asian male leads do we really have to look up to in mainstream cinema? Almost none up until The Walking Dead became a thing. So taking one of the only ones that's well known and basically going, hey, remember when people thought Bruce Lee was cool? Well, he was actually just an arrogant prick who made ridiculous noises, fought like a moron, and got embarrassed by a random Hollywood stuntman. Hell, even Brad Pitt was uncomfortable with how Bruce was being portrayed and made Tarantino tone it down. So that means the original scenes were even more egregious. I could buy the whole satire argument way more if Tarantino hadn't doubled down on it later and claimed that that's what Lee was really like. If anything, he looked more human. Agreed. Mean Me Mind 136D. Totally agree. I adore Bruce Lee and didn't find his portrayal in that film insulting at all. It's a caricature and satire, not to be taken seriously, just for a laugh. It's be like if Bob Ross was in a movie and a main character painted better than him. Blargenschmer 136D. That's a good way of putting it. Wanderlust Tortoise 136D. He was on a level of cocky confidence. If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm not good, you'll know I'm lying. Bruce Lee. Kingmanik 136D Tarantino made some harsh remarks that Lee was arrogant like in his film based on a line Tarantino misremembered. Something Lee's ex-wife said, not Lee. Tarantino doubled down and insisted it was Lee. The statement about being able to win against Muhammad Ali. Lee publicly said it'd be no contest, Ali would kill him. His ex-wife wrote in a biography she thought Lee could take Ali. Tarantino gave him that line in the movie, and doubled down on his mistake afterwards. I hope history remember Tarantino as talented but an arrogant asshole. Mole 091360 Basically, I thought Tarantino was kind of a douche for still insisting Lee said it when his own wife and daughter came out and said he was full of shit. Bruce admired the shit out of Ali and would watch his fights religiously hoping to learn from them. Why are you calling her his ex-wife though? They never divorced. He died. Generally, you'd refer to her as his widow. Ex-wife implies the relationship ended prior. Paulo Montero's 136D That's good to know. I should get to watch it as soon as I can to form my own opinion on the matter. Blargenschmer 136D Yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I thought it was a really fun movie. Team Spar 136D My brother is one of the biggest Bruce Lee fanboys in the world. His name is Brandon after Bruce Lee's son. Anyways, he says there is the misconception about Lee in two ways. Those WJO think he was a pure and humble martial artist with no skeletons in his closet. And those who know a bit more about his dark side and in a contrarian way overblow his weaknesses. Bruce Lee was a bit of an asshole, but still a good person. Cheated on his wife, took drugs, and bullied people on set. He was quite flawed, but he did a lot for his community, championed martial arts in a positive light in the West, and was a great dad. Still a man to be admired, like most people. I feel like the movie did a good job in grounding Lee's character. Q Robo 136D Also that he was some terrific fighter. He was a martial artist, exhibitionist, dancer, and actor, but he was not accomplished as a fighter and his size meant he would have been smooshed by larger, less trained opponents, like Kareem AJ. Deleted, 136D I think it's relevant that that's how Pitt's character remembered him, in a movie about the way we embellish our memories. This post does essentially the same thing. Führer King Jong-un 136D Except that's what QT thought Bruce Lee was like when he was alive. It wasn't an exaggeration. Robert 136D I did hear Bruce Lee's character in OUATIH read that quote in my head though, and it made me chuckle. Jitter Scaffine 136D Anecdotally I've heard he was considered quite jerk among the martial arts community. He'd steal private lessons from teachers. Mechanical Holes 136D I love Bruce Lee but I wouldn't say he was great all around. I mean, dude died at his mistress's house. Endless Vanity 136D Link it up for us. Marui 97136D The mistress was an actress named Betty Ting Pei. Mole 091360 He was something of a womanizer. Probably did cheat on her at least twice. Head of Sky 136D Just a thought, perhaps you're not the best teacher of the things you were never taught. L2NP 136D You don't have to learn from only your parents. There's a world of great influences out there if you care to listen to them and find them. Luis Jury 1136D Well, there's many ways to learn something other than being taught. In my personal experience, I learned some of the most important things by being wrong again and again, until I got it right. If I ever have children, I'll make an effort into teaching them what's right, instead of letting them go through the shit I had to go to learn it. Hello Pacific Ocean 136D It's hard to teach stuff no one taught you, but with some effort, it can be done. Like cooking. Crisco with Lime 136D It's the things you were never taught but learned on the fly or by trial and error, and realized later it was something you should have been taught. Mu 136D Sometimes it's exactly the lack of something that allows us to see how important it is. For example, a person who suffered a childhood in an emotionally cold home might understand the importance of communication more than others. The failures of those around us can be as valuable a lesson as anything, I'd say. Faux Real 136D Good point, and that's probably why Bruce Lee never said these words attributed to him. Well, at least not in that order to push that particular concept. Hairlong Monilong 136D Tell my Spanish teacher this. Penakinesis 136D That's a shame. I was fortunate to have muy besto español teachero en la counterio that means very best Spanish teacher in the country for those of you who have never studied the language. Numbatwa 136D Perhaps you shouldn't do too much thinking. Benign Tugboat 136D The things you weren't taught growing up are things you can be taught later on by people other than your parents. I also disagree. Things can be learned well without someone teaching them. I don't see any reason to believe otherwise. Bobo Joe 136D Bruce Lee never said this FYI. Deleted. 136D. Hate to spoil the mood, but the dude cheated on his wife left, right, and center. It's even in his wife's memoir. All around great human being might be an overstatement. I'm still a fan, for the record. Sanji Sasuke. 136D. Please don't spread misinformation. Linda Lee directly states that is only tabloid gossip. No one who knew Lee personally believes he was having an affair. I've read the entirety of Letters from the Dragon, and right up until the month he died he was always telling everyone about his beautiful children and wife. When away from home he would often write Linda poetry and lament not being home. I don't think it's possible to disprove the supposed mistress's claims, but Linda, the woman actually closest to the issue, maintains his innocence. Stupid lad ain't nothing. 136D. His wife never wrote a memoir confirming he had an affair. However, the woman he was with at the time of his death wrote one claiming she had an affair with him. Cockvan lesbian. 136D. It's 60s Hollywood. Everybody was fucking everybody. Dionysus. 77,136D. Why not both? Pink Snuff. 136D. As much as I love this phrase, and how wholesome I find it, this is not a meme. Nanobot. 16,136D. The legend.
If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button below and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thanks for watching.